Hello students, welcome to the class of complex analysis. So today we are going to discuss residues of complex functions. So the definition says that suppose we have a function f which have isolated singularity at the point z equal to a. So that means f is not analytic at the point z equal to a. So f has isolated singularity at the point at z equal to a, which means that f is not analytic at the point z equal to a. Okay, so there is a point a in some domain region G with the property that f is not analytic at the point z equal to a. Okay, then you consider the deleted neighborhood or annular region of the point a comma 0 comma some radius delta. Then in this neighborhood, there is some neighborhood with the radius small delta without the center point A. So which is called the deleted neighborhood or annular region. Then in this region, our function is analytic, right? Because f is not analytic only at the point A. So when you omit that point, f will be analytic in the neighborhood of that point. Okay. So when a function is analytic in the deleted neighborhood of a point, then we can represent that function as a Lorentz series. Then fz can be written a power series of the form sigma n equal to minus infinity to infinity a n into z minus a raised to n. Okay. Then this representation is valid only in the deleted neighborhood of a. Then what is this series actually? The terms are etc. Some a0 plus a1 into z minus a plus a2 into z minus a square plus etc. plus an z minus a raised to n plus etc. And there are also terms which include the negative powers of z minus a, so which are denoted by some a minus 1 z minus a raised to minus 1 plus some a minus 2 z minus a raised to n minus 2 plus etc. Right? Then you consider the term a minus 1 z minus a raised to minus 1 in the series. Okay. Then this coefficient is called residue of the function f at the point z equal to a. So what is residue? Residue is defined by, it is a complex number which is nothing but the coefficient of the term 1 by z minus a in the Lorentz series expansion of fz in some deleted neighborhood of a. Clear? F deleted neighborhood analytic ആയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എയിൽ സിംഗുലാരിറ്റി ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ എയിൽ അനലിറ്റിക് ആവില്ല. സോ അതിൻ്റെ നെയ്ബർഹുഡിൽ അനലിറ്റിക് ആയിരിക്കും എക്സെപ്റ്റ് ദ പോയിന്റ് എ ഡിലീറ്റഡ് നെയ്ബർഹുഡിൽ. അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ ഡിലീറ്റഡ് നെയ്ബർഹുഡിൽ നമുക്ക് എന്തുണ്ടാകും? ലോറൻസ് സീരീസ് എക്സ്പാൻഷൻ വാലിഡ് ആയിരിക്കും. സോ ഫ്രം ദാറ്റ് ലോറൻസ് സീരീസ് എക്സ്പാൻഷൻ വി ക്യാൻ ഫൈൻഡ് ഔട്ട് ദി കോഎഫിഷ്യന്റ് ഓഫ് 1 by z minus a and that coefficient, that complex number is denoted as defined as the residue of the function at the point z equal to a. And we can define this residue as one more definition. Residue of a function f with isolated singularity at z equal to a is a complex number. So residue is a complex number R such that fz minus r divided by z minus a. You consider the function fz minus r divided by z minus a. Then if you can represent this function as some g dash z where g is single valued analytic function. That means fz minus the complex number, the residue divided by z minus a can be considered as derivative of another analytic function gz. Then a number with the required property, with this property is called a residue. This can be considered as a residue. Okay. Now what is the need of finding this kind of residues associated with the analytic function? So when we have a function which is analytic everywhere, then everywhere, then integral over gamma fz dz will be equal to 0. Where gamma is a closed curve. Then and f is analytic in the region defined by this gamma, then integral over gamma fz dz will be equal to 0. If f has some isolated singularity at some point, then what will be the integral of fz over gamma? We can't say that will be equal to 0 always. So how will you find out that integral when the function have some singularities? So you can note that when z equal to a is a removable singularity, then we can find out the value of integral of fz dz, that will be equal to 0 when the singularity is removable. When it is a pole or essential singularity, the integral over gamma fz dz cannot be equal to 0, but we can find out the value of integral over gamma fz dz by using this kind of residues. Okay, so advantage of finding residue is to evaluate integral over gamma fz dz when the function f have isolated singularity at some points which are not removed. Okay, so next we have the residue theorem. So residue theorem says that suppose we have an analytic function in a region G. Suppose we have a region G and f is an analytic function defined from G to C, complex plane. And assume that there are some isolated singularity for f. So a1, a2, etc. some an. There are finitely many isolated singularities of the function f exist. And gamma is a closed rectifiable curve in G which does not passes through the points a1, a2, etc. an. So gamma is a closed curve in G which does not passes through the point a1, a2, etc. an. And also assume that this gamma is homologous to 0 in G. Homologous to 0 means it is homotopic to a constant curve. So that means there is a homotopy, there is a one continuous function which maps this curve gamma into a constant curve. Okay, without altering the properties of gamma. Right. So suppose these are all true, then 1 by 2 pi I integral over gamma f can be found out by using n gamma ak, index of each point and residue of function at these points. So this curve gamma does not passes through these points. So it may be inside, these points may be belongs to inside of gamma or outside of gamma. So there are two properties. And note that gamma does not passes through these points. That means these AIs are not belongs to gamma. They are belongs to either interior to gamma or exterior to gamma. Okay. So then this can be found out by using indexes, n gammas and residues. Residues of f at ak, their summation. K equal to 1 to n. So how will you prove this residue theorem, which is a very, very important result for find outing the integral value of a complex function which have isolated singularities. Ready? So proof. Okay, first of all let a1, a2, etc. a and b isolated singularities of the function f in G. Isolated singularities of f in G. Then we are assuming let m1, m2, etc. mn be the multiplicities or index of these points with respect to the curve gamma. So let mk equal to the n gamma ak, where 1 less than or equal to k less than or equal to n. That means corresponding to each singularity ai, we are considering the index number or the winding number of ak with respect to the curve gamma, which is denoted by mk. Now I am going to construct some neighborhoods of these points a1, a2, etc. an with the property that they are not intersecting to each other. Okay, so I am constructing some neighborhoods of these points with the property that no two neighborhoods are intersects. Okay, so for that I am considering some radiuses. Let R1, R2, etc. R and B positive real numbers such that no two disks be AK RK. Corresponding to every AK, we construct a radius. We choose a radius RK such that B closure of AK RK intersects. And also assume that these neighborhoods or this closure of these neighborhoods does not intersect with this gamma also. And none of them intersect trace of gamma. None of them are intersect trace of gamma. And also assume that each neighborhood is contained in G. And each one is contained in G. And it is possible because we are considering the open ball or a region in complex plane, right? And complex planes are a T2 space which has the topology which is T2, the host of topology. So there may exist open balls, or we can choose open balls in that region without intersecting. Okay, ready. Then I am going to define, let Rk of t, which is denoted by ak plus e raised to minus 2 pi I mkt or 0 less or equal to t less or equal to 1 for every 1 less or equal to j less or equal to n. So these gamma t are the closed curves with the center ak, which is actually circles, which is center ak and radius 1 with the winding number mk in the clockwise direction, right? For each gamma, that means corresponding to every singularity a1, corresponding to the singularity a1, I define gamma k of t, gamma 1 of t. Gamma 1 of t is a curve, it is a circle with the opposite direction of gamma. Suppose gamma has counterclockwise direction, then this gamma 1 has clockwise direction, reverse direction, with the winding number m1. Okay, and note that when gamma, what is mk? Mk is the winding number of a1 with respect to gamma 1. With respect to gamma. Then with the same winding number, I am constructing the curve gamma 1 with the opposite direction. Right? So which is gamma 1. And gamma 1 rotates around a1 for m1 times, capital M1 times. Then what is gamma 2? Consider the singularity a2. Then gamma 2 is a circle with clockwise direction and winding number m2. It has winding number m1 and it has winding number m2, etc. When consider the singularity ak, we construct a curve gamma k, which is a circle with the center ak with the multiplicity mk with the opposite direction of gamma. Right? Then what will be n gamma aj plus sigma k equal to 1 to n gamma k aj. So this sum will be, since gamma rotates around aj for mj times, right? Yeah, it is some mj times. So this is capital MJ plus n gamma k aj, and gamma k is a curve rotates around aj again mj times with the reverse direction. So that sum will be minus mj. So that will be equal to 0. And this is the case where ajs belongs to interior of gamma. When ajs belongs to the exterior of gamma or outside of G, when ajs belongs to the outside of G, outside of G, this sum will be equal to 0 plus 0 equal to 0. So when this sum will be equal to 0, any of this case, right? N gamma aj plus sigma k equal to 1 to n gamma k aj will be equal to 0 if sets are belongs to interior of gamma or interior of gamma, and when these sets are belongs to outside of G, this sum will be equal to 0 always. So in both cases this sum will be equal to 0 for, and this is true for every set in the outside of G. Set belongs to outside of G. So which implies that our gamma, this curve gamma plus sigma k equal to 1 to n gamma k is homologous to 0 in G, which is homologous to 0 in G. Therefore, so this curve is homologous to 0 in G minus a1, a2, etc. an. Right. So therefore, by Cauchy's theorem first version, first version says that when we have a function which is analytic and gamma is a closed curve which is homologous to 0, then integral over gamma f is equal to 0. Cauchy's theorem first version says that when f is analytic in some region G and gamma is a closed rectifiable curve in G such that gamma is homologous to 0, then integral over gamma f is equal to 0. We are going to apply this theorem for the function f in the region G minus a1, a2, etc. an with respect to the curve gamma plus sigma k equal to 1 to n gamma k. Okay, since f is analytic, because of f is analytic in G minus a1, a2, etc. an, because a1, a2, etc. an are the singularities of the function f. Therefore, f will be analytic in the region without the points a1, a2, etc. an, right? Implies integral over gamma plus sigma k equal to 1 to n gamma k f is equal to 0. So what is this? Integral over gamma f plus integral over sigma k equal to 1 to n f is equal to 0. So which means that integral over gamma f plus sigma k equal to 1 to n integral over gamma k f is equal to 0. So which means that integral over gamma f is equal to minus sigma k equal to 1 to n integral over gamma k f. Okay. Now consider the singularity z equal to ak. Right. Then since B closure of ak rk is a neighborhood containing the point ak, you need only consider the B of ak rk, which is a neighborhood containing the point ak. Then the deleted neighborhood of this region, our function f will have Lorentz series expansion at the point z equal to a. Consider the point z equal to ak and the open ball centered at ak rk. Then f has Lorentz series expansion at z equal to ak, which is valid in 0 less than mod z minus ak is less than rk in the deleted neighborhood, and the series will be uniformly convergent in, and the series will be uniformly convergent on B closure of AKRK. Right. And what is Lorentz series expansion? Fz can be written in this neighborhood. Fz can be written sigma n equal to minus infinity to infinity some Bn z minus ak raised to n. This is the representation of Lorentz series. Therefore, integral over gamma, we have integral over gamma f is equal to, it can be written sigma, instead of f I can replace this term, integral over gamma, integral over gamma k f can be written integral over gamma k, instead of f I can write sigma n equal to minus infinity to infinity bn z minus ak raised to n. Okay, so that is sigma n equal to minus infinity to infinity integral over gamma k bn z minus ak raised to n. So we get now integral over gamma k f is equal to sigma k equal to minus infinity to infinity bn integral over gamma k z minus ak raised to n. We have this now. Now for n not equal to minus 1, what is this integral over gamma k z minus ak raised to n? Consider the term z minus ak raised to n. Since n is not equal to minus 1, it is of the form some 1 by z square, or 1 by z minus a, 1 by z minus a square, 1 by z minus a cube, etc., or z minus a square, z minus a cube, etc. So they are either the complex polynomials or reciprocal of complex polynomials with a degree greater than 1. So that they are integrable functions, right? They are integrable functions, or they can be considered as derivative of some analytic function, which means these functions have primitives. Consider this kind of functions when n is not equal to minus 1, z minus ak raised to n has primitive, which means z minus ak raised to minus n can be considered as derivative of some analytic function. Consider as derivative of some analytic function. Therefore, integral over gamma k z minus ak raised to n will be 0. Therefore, integral over gamma k z minus ak raised to n will be equal to 0. So, which implies integral over gamma k f is equal to 0. Since these terms are 0, integral over gamma k f will be equal to 0. Okay. Whenever if n not equal to minus 1. Now, for the case n equal to minus 1, if n equal to minus 1, what will happen to this term? When n equal to minus 1, consider this summation, that is integral over gamma k f is equal to sigma k equal to minus infinity to infinity bn integral over gamma k z minus ak raised to n, which is nothing but b minus 1 into integral over gamma k z minus ak raised to minus 1, because all other terms are 0. So this integration will be equal to b minus 1 into this representation only. Okay. And what is this? Which is equal to b minus 1 into, what is this value? Which can be written dz also. Integral over some gamma k 1 by z minus ak dz. Right? And which is equal to b minus 1 into, what is this term? We know that integral over some gamma 1 by z minus a dz will be equal to index of the point A with respect to the curve gamma. This is called the n gamma A. And then by definition, it is nothing but n gamma k ak. But in definition, we have 1 by 2 pi I into. So this is the definition of index, right? 1 by 2 pi integral over gamma 1 by z minus a dz is defined to be n gamma a, which is the index or winding number of the point A with respect to the curve gamma. So by definition, it is nothing but index of the curve gamma k ak multiplication 2 pi I. So which is equal to b minus 1 into, what is n gamma k ak, index winding number of the point ak with respect to the curve gamma k, which is as minus mk. Because this gamma k is the curve which is rotated around the point AK in the clockwise direction, reverse direction of gamma, therefore, and which is denoted by minus mk. So which is minus mk into 2 pi I, therefore b minus 1 minus, what is mk? Mk is n gamma ak, the winding number of the point AK with respect to gamma only, that is denoted by mk. So into 2 pi I. So you get b minus 1. What is b minus 1? B minus 1, which is the coefficient. Actually Bn, what is Bn? Bn came from the Lorentz series expansion, coefficient of the coefficient of the function fz at the point z equal to ak in the Lorentz series expansion. Therefore b minus 1 is nothing but the residue of the function f at the point ak. This is called b minus 1. Product minus n gamma ak 2 pi I. So this is actually integral over gamma k f. Therefore integral over gamma f is equal to, we have integral over gamma f is equal to sigma k equal to 1 to n integral over gamma k f. So which is equal to sigma k equal to 1 to n integral over gamma k f is equal to residue of f at ak, right? Residue of f at ak, integral over gamma f is equal to, we have minus sigma. So minus sigma fk minus n gamma ak 2 pi I. So that we get this 2 pi will become here 1 by 2 pi I integral over 2 pi can be written here. So integral over gamma f is equal to, this minus minus will be positive, sigma k equal to 1 to n residue of the function f at ak, product n gamma ak, index of the number ak. So this is called the residue theorem. That means we can use residue and index for finding integral of a function which have some singularities. Okay, now suppose that z equal to a is a pole of fz. That means z equal to a has isolated singularity at the point z equal to a, and which has the property that limit, which means that z equal to a is an isolated singularity of fz, and limit z tends to infinity, mod fz is also goes to infinity. So we have this property at z equal to a. When z equal to a is a pole, which also implies that when z equal to a is a pole of a function fz, then z minus a into fz has removable singularity at the point z equal to a. Removable singularity at the point z equal to a. When z minus a into fz has removable singularity at the point z equal to a, this z minus a into fz can be considered as Lorentz series expansion. This function will have Lorentz series expansion of the form sigma n equal to 0 to infinity bn into some z minus a raised to n. And what is this? Since at the point the function can be analytic, the Lorentz series expansion will be same as the Taylor series expansion. Therefore, we can write sigma n equal to 0 to infinity bn into something. So that fz z minus a into fz can be written some b naught plus b1 into z minus a plus b2 into z minus a square plus etc. So that fz can be written b naught z minus a plus raised to minus 1 plus some b1 into b1 only b1 plus b2 z minus a b3 z minus a square plus etc. So that is fz can be written a series of the form some b1 plus b2 into z minus a plus b3 into z minus a square plus etc. plus the term b naught into z minus a raised to minus 1. That is b naught divided by z minus a plus b1 plus b2 z minus a plus b3 z minus a square plus etc. Right? Okay. Okay, so you know that z equal to a is an isolated singularity, right? Isolated singularity of fz, and now fz can be considered as a power series format, which is same as some Lorentz series format, right? And all the negative coefficients, all the terms including z minus a in the denominators are 0 except b naught, right? Therefore, from here, what is the residue? From the definition, what is residue? Residue of fz equal at z equal to a is the coefficient of 1 by z minus a in the Lorentz series expansion. Now this series expansion can be considered as Lorentz series expansion of fz at the point z equal to a. So what is the coefficient of 1 by z minus a here? B naught. Therefore, residue of fz at z equal to a is b naught now. And what is b naught from the series representation? B naught is nothing but which is the series representation of z minus a. What is z minus a into fz? Z minus a into fz is this series. What is this series? B naught plus b1 into z minus a plus etc plus etc. Here, how will you get b naught from this representation? When you take limit z tends to a, when you take limit z tends to a to the series representation b naught plus b1 into z minus a plus etc., these all these terms including z minus a will be 0. So the remaining term will be b naught itself, right? So b naught can be written, this b naught can be written, what is this b naught? B naught can be written limit z tends to a, z minus a into fz, because if you apply the limit z tends to a in that form, in the power series representation of this, we will get b naught. So which is same as the limit z tends to a, z minus a into fz. So what is b naught? Limit z tends to a, z minus a into fz. So limit z tends to a, z minus a into fz is nothing but b naught. And what is this b naught? Residue of the function f at the point z equal to a, which is represented by residue of f at a. So from here I can say that when z equal to a is a pole of a function fz, then its residue can be found by limit z tends to a, z minus a into fz. Okay, that is, if z equal to a is a pole of fz, then residue of f at the point a can be found by limit z tends to a, z minus a fz. So which is the result. Now using this result, we can evaluate one problem. Evaluate the integral over mod z equal to 1 by z, mod z equal to 3, some z minus 1, z minus 2 dz. So you can see that here fz is the function reciprocal of z minus 1 into z minus 2. And it's seen that z equal to 1 and z equal to 2 are the singularities of this function, because at these points f cannot be analytic. Singularities of fz. And you can see that z equal to 1 and z equal to 2 are the poles or simple poles. Of fz. Okay. Then by residue theorem, 1 by 2 pi I integral over some gamma fz dz can be found by sigma k equal to 1 to n gamma ak plus residue of f at ak. So which is the result from the residue theorem. Okay. In order to evaluate this kind of integral, we want residue and index number. Now see that what is gamma? Gamma is defined by mod z equal to 3. What is mod z equal to 3 represent? Which is a circle with the center at z equal to 0 and radius r equal to 3. So this is our gamma. 0, 1, 2, 3, 1i, 2i, 3i, minus I, minus 2i, minus 3i, again minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So these 4 points are the boundaries of the curve gamma. Then this is our curve gamma mod z equal to 3. So what are the singularities? Z equal to 1 and z equal to 2. So 1 and 2. So these are the two singularities of the function. And they are interior to the curve, the region defined by gamma. So therefore they are singularities, right? Then we can find out the residues and index. What is the index number of the point z equal to 1 with respect to gamma? How many times gamma rotates around 1? Exactly 1 time. Therefore clearly I can say that index number of gamma with the point z equal to 1 equal to 1, and index number of gamma with of the point z equal to 2 is 1. Ready. Now we will find out the residue, and you can see that z equal to 1 is a simple pole. It's a simple pole of fz. Therefore residue of f at the point z equal to 1 is defined by limit z tends to a z minus a into fz, which is the formula. So that is limit z tends to a is the point, here 1 is the point, z tends to 1, z minus 1 into fz. That is limit z tends to 1, z minus 1 into, what is fz? Fz is the quotient 1 by z minus 1 into z minus 2. So z minus 1 can be cancelled. When you find out the limit, 1 divided by z minus z minus 1, actually z minus 2, z is the point, limit z tends to 1, z minus 2, that is limit 1 minus 2, you get 1 by minus 1, value is minus 1. So similarly we will find out the residue of the function f at the point z equal to 2, because there are two kinds of singularity. There are 2 points which are singularities of the function f. Therefore in order to every singularity we need to find out the residue. Then residue of the function f at the point 2 equal to limit z tends to 2, z minus 2 fz. So that is limit z tends to 2, z minus 2, fz is 1 by z minus 1, z minus 2. This can be cancelled. Limit z tends to 2, 1 by z minus 1. You get 1 by 2 minus 1 equal to 1 by 1 equal to 1. So we get residues and n-gammas, indexes. Therefore 1 by 2 pi I by residue theorem, 1 by 2 pi integral over mod z equal to 3, 1 by z minus 1, z minus 2 dz is equal to what, n gamma 1 residue of f at 1 plus n gamma 2 residue of f at 2. So which is 1 into minus 1 plus 1 into plus 1. So we get minus 1 plus 1 equal to 0. Therefore integral over mod z equal to 3, 1 by z minus 1, z minus 2 dz is equal to 0 into 2 pi I equal to 0. So you get the value 0.